I'll start with my goners. So I think my first goner is I think any Vikings fan that's at least somewhat educated on the roster would agree with me 100% on this. But Marcus Davenport has got to go. He committed highway robbery.
13, as much as $13 million for
a handful of games.
Yeah, 2 sacks, I think, maybe a sack or 2. I don't know.
And again, my theory could still stand. Maybe he's one of those cancerous guys in the locker room that they just shut down early in the season, and they were like, "Nah, we're not going to deal with you. We're not going to make a big deal of it. We'll eat the 13 mil that we spent on you." But no, he's got to go. Yeah. Get him out of there.
The sentiment I've heard about him is you just can't make somebody want it. I think Darren Wolfson has said you can't force a player to want to play and want to be good.
Yep.
And that's all I need to hear.
Yep. So, bye. Get out of here. We want to go back and forth on this?
Yeah, let's go back and forth.
All
right. So we're going goners right now?
Yep.
So I'm spitballing here. I'm just looking at names. Man, I don't even know who John Reed is, so that's unfair to say. Yeah, I don't know. This is very okay. I've got a goner, Jonathan Bullard. I think he was a depth defensive lineman, a cheap-ish contract. I don't know. He didn't make a huge impact. Maybe a couple of non-stat sheet plays he made, but it feels like with the right draft pick, you can replace a guy like that pretty quickly.
He didn't make my keepers list, but I did put a check mark next to him.
Yeah.
Maybe keep him for depth. He would come in every once in a while, and I think he saw more playing time once Davenport was officially out and wasn't coming back. So, anyways, yeah, I would agree with that to some extent, though. He was kind of a fringe player for me. You could take or leave him, maybe. My second goner is maybe kind of controversial because he's been with the team for a little bit. But I think you got to let Greg Joseph go.
I can see that.
And I think this is the time to do it with his contract expiring. Statistically, he is a bad kicker.
Yeah.
He is in the bottom half of the league in every statistical category, and I looked it up. He's 22nd in field goal percentage. No, sorry, I stand corrected. He's 30th as of the end of week 18. He's 30th in field goal percentage. He's 22nd in extra point percentage. So it's time to move on. And the Vikings have historically struggled with kickers. I don't know what you do. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think he's the answer moving forward.
I think at least you're getting his value back. In any name any incoming rookie or previous kicker on another team. I think you're at least getting a replaceable name, maybe at a lower salary, unless he's essentially free. That would be the only way I would say keep him. But I agree with you.
There were 5 or 6 kickers in the league this year that were 100% from extra points. I know they moved the extra point back 5 years ago?
No, it's probably been closer to 10 years ago at this point. It's been a while.
Maybe.
Blair Walsh was the kicker for the Vikings when they made that change.
Okay, well, point being, at this point, when you're an NFL kicker, you shouldn't have anything less than a 90% from extra point. It's been
assuming,
that long.
indoors and, assuming.
Yeah. I don't know. And I don't think he was 90%. I think Greg Joseph was 88 or something like that. And to me, that's just, it's not acceptable. You can't win games, especially with as many close games as the Vikings seem to find themselves in. You can't win games with a kicker like that. Can't
We've
get
seen
out
it.
of it. Yeah, you can't get out of a season with a winning record with a kicker like that. You've got to... You got to do better, and I think the Vikings need to find better. I think Greg's a good guy.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And he made that incredible 61-yarder.
But, yeah, you don't have confidence in him.
Right.
I say we, the Skol Hop, do not have major confidence.
And I don't think the coaching staff really showed that they had a ton of confidence in him either.
Yeah, I just think he was kind of hidden this year amongst the rest of the poor team.
Agreed.
All right, my turn.
Yep.
So I just want to iterate that I do agree on the let Marcus Davenport walk. He's not the guy that I'm going to pick right now, but absolutely I 100% agree with. I will say my next one to let walk is Josh Dobbs. Magical 4 to 5 to 6 quarters that we had with him. I just think keeping him kind of muddies everything up. And that's, I mean, it's more for the other quarterbacks in the room. If you draft a quarterback high and you keep Josh Dobbs, because if you keep him, that means you've signed him. You've gone out of your way to make sure that he's still on the team. It's not like you keep him because he's a cheap option or something. Like, no, you had to sign him. So does that hinder the confidence or development of a young guy? Does it kind of let everybody know that, like, yeah, we've got this guy that, yeah, he was a disappointment, but we could bench you at any second, whether it's Kirk or whoever, because we do have this electric weapon who's proven he can come in on a second's notice and do something. So, yeah, all that to say, I let Josh Dobbs walk, and he may be ready to. Like, this season, he might just need a refresh, and some other team's going to sign. He's going to be an NFL quarterback next year. But, yeah, I just let him do it somewhere else.
I would agree with that. My third goner would be Cam Akers. I don't think a running back can recover from 2 Achilles tears on
It's tough.
both
He
legs.
is young, though. But, yes, that
He's young, and
very valid.
he's proven he can come back from one, but he tore the other. And when you're in a position where you've got to shift and move and plant and juke and do all that stuff that I don't even know, like, because I'm not a running back. And
won't even work out and recover. Like,
yeah. I loved what he brought to the offense. I thought it was a great pickup at first. And
absolutely.
He electrified the running game when the running game was stagnant. Had he not been injured, he wouldn't be on my list.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he hadn't injured his other Achilles, he might still be a keeper in my eyes. But because he injured that other Achilles, I don't know that you can justify bringing him back.
Yeah, I think the Vikings running back room at the start of the 2024 season looks significantly different than it did at the start of the 23 season.
I think it needs a pretty big overhaul.
Yeah, and I think the injury to Cam Akers, I agree with you, almost disqualifies him for being in that overhaul. If nothing else, just for the fact that he's not under contract. So again, another guy that if he's on the team next year, you would have had to go out of your way. And maybe because of his injury, let's just say pie in the sky. Let's assume he is physically able to fully come back to 100%. I mean, with that injury, he could be a cheaper option as well. Nobody's going to sign any running back to big numbers. Cam Akers could be a cheap option, but that also means there's going to be some names out there this offseason that the running backs tried to, start a coup in the NFL and force their way to big paydays. There's going to be some high-quality guys that are not going to get big paydays, and the Vikings might be able to reap the benefits of that. So all that to say, I can see and slightly agree with your thought on Cam Akers. If I had to tend to go one way, I wouldn't mind having him back, but that injury is tough. Yeah, that is tough.
Who's your third goner?
All right, my third might be a little controversial, maybe not, and it has no bearing on the kind of person he is, but I think KJ Osborne. You're already, hopefully, about to drop a record-breaking amount of money on the league's best wide receiver, one of the league's best players. And KJ, he's not going to be like veteran minimum. He's also not going to be JJ money, but he's going to be a chunk of change.
He's a good number 2 or a number 3 somewhere.
Yeah, and this year I've listened back on our off-season episodes from last season, we talked about KJ and that he's going to step up. And that's even after the Vikings drafted Addison, before we knew anything about Addison, how KJ, he's going to be that number 2.
We wanted him to be that. I wanted him to be that so badly,
Yeah,
and it never materialized.
I think he did too. And he has always had flashes throughout his entire career when he's been the number 4 guy, the number 5 guy, the number 3 guy. He's always had flashes where you think he could be a number 2 or even a number 1. He's been behind Adam Thielen and JJ his whole career. Even BC Johnson was ahead of him for a little bit. Like, he never took that next step. And then this year, when he had that opportunity, he probably entered the season on the depth chart as the number 2 guy. He still only had those flashes, like he never was the number 2. He never had number 2 receiver numbers.
He wasn't the Adam Thielen, Mr. Consistent.
Yeah.
Every time you throw it my way, I'm going to get it.
He had a couple of decent games and then a couple of games where it's like, how did you drop that? I think he's good, and I think he's not done in the NFL by any means. He's going to cost what a halfway decent veteran wide receiver costs. And I think the Vikings have seen enough to know that they can draft a guy, or they can give a guy like Jalen Naylor an opportunity to step up and be the guy. So, yeah, all that to say, let's let him walk. Well, he can find another opportunity.
And I think the good news for the Vikings as an organization is, even if you do pay Justin Jefferson a lot, which he deserves, arguably being one of, if not the best offensive player in the league, even if you pay him, you have Jordan Addison playing second fiddle, who's on his rookie contract still. Like, you're going to save a few dollars at wide receiver, even if you do pay JJ, because you're going to make up for that on the other side with Jordan Addison.
And I think Jordan Addison has proven already in one season he is at least as good as KJ.
Yes.
And I would venture to say he's better.
Well, there's a reason why Jordan Addison had that little spurt when JJ went down, and it wasn't KJ.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we still had Kirk when JJ went down.
You would have expected Kirk to find KJ. Like, they've known each other for several seasons now. They've got that chemistry developed.
And they've had flashes, but yeah.
Right. So, yeah, anyways, I think that's a good pick. I will be sad to see KJ
go.
go.
I like him as a player, as a Viking. He seems like a good guy. I just think, and maybe he goes somewhere else, and having a different scenery, different quarterback, different scheme, maybe he does turn into a 1,000-yard receiver and a Pro Bowler. I don't know. Yeah. And if that happens, it's not like we can say, darn it, we should have kept him, because obviously he's proven that's not what he's going to do in Minnesota.